Hello everyone, welcome back to the Racing Squad. I'm your host Naren Harwani and today we're going to discuss the race highlights of the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix. What a fantastic race we've had as the first race of the 2020 F1 Championship. It was fully chaotic. There was everything happening on the racetrack. We had 4 safety cars, we had 9 DNFs, we had so many nudges, we had so many overtakes and so many battles on the track. It definitely is the perfect advertisement for Formula 1. So let's have a look at what happened immediately after qualifying. Red Bull appealed against Lewis Hamilton and requested the stewards to look into his fastest lap time set, and the stewards looked into it again and granted Lewis Hamilton a 3-place grid penalty, which dropped Lewis Hamilton to the 5th position and promoted Lando Norris and Alex Albon a position up. So we had Valtteri Bottas starting first, Max Verstappen starting second, Lando Norris starting third, Alex Albon starting fourth, and Lewis Hamilton was in 5th position. Lewis Hamilton also gained a 5-second penalty towards the end of the race in what definitely was the highlight of the race. During the safety car restart, Alex Albon had a clear advantage over both Mercedes drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Alex Albon was in P3, whereas Lewis Hamilton in P2 and Valtteri Bottas in P1. Alex Albon had a fresher set of softs and Mercedes were clearly struggling with the gearbox. They had to kind of manage the gearbox towards the end of the race. There was James on the radio requesting both Valtteri and Lewis to kind of take care of the gearbox and not hit the curbs, which definitely was a really difficult job for Mercedes. Alex Albon took a chance and during the safety car restart immediately went on to overtake Lewis Hamilton. What we saw as a result of that overtake attempt was Alex Albon ended up spinning and ended up not finishing the race. What happened was Alexander Albon tried to overtake Lewis Hamilton on the outside line, and Lewis Hamilton somehow was on the racing line and did not give Alexander Albon enough room to kind of make that move stick, and the front left of Lewis Hamilton touched the right rear of Alexander Albon, which resulted in Alexander Albon spinning, and clearly it was Alexander Albon's race. He was on fresher tyres, he had much more pace, he had an advantage over Mercedes. Mercedes was struggling clearly, and Alexander Albon, had he overtook Lewis Hamilton, he would have clearly got a chance to win the race for sure. Definitely that was the highlight of the race. And Lewis Hamilton was granted a 5-second penalty which promoted both Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris a position up, and we saw Charles Leclerc finish in P2 and Lando Norris finish in P3. Let's have a look at Charles Leclerc race. He was basically taking advantage of whatever was happening in front of him. There were so many safety car restarts. He was at the right time at the right place during the race, and the highlight of Charles Leclerc race was definitely the overtake on Sergio Perez. He clearly gave a surprise to Sergio Perez towards the end of the race and managed to get in front of him. Hamilton's 5-second penalty definitely gave him an advantage, and we saw Charles Leclerc finish in P2. Let's have a look at another main highlight of the race was definitely Lando Norris. He finished in P3. It's his first podium for McLaren and in F1, and he becomes the 3rd youngest driver to score a podium. Now what happened towards the end of the race is that Lando Norris overtook Sergio Perez, and Lando Norris didn't know that Lewis Hamilton had a 5-second penalty. He took that risk. He somehow managed to get ahead of Sergio Perez, and once he came to know that Lewis Hamilton has got a 5-second penalty, he clocked the fastest lap on the final lap, which saw him within that 5-second range, and we saw him finish in position 3 in the race in what was a splendid last lap for Lando Norris. He clocked the fastest lap, which definitely gave him an advantage and brought him within the 5-second gap of Lewis Hamilton, which he clearly wanted in order to finish P3. He was clearly so happy after the race. We saw him hugging McLaren team principal Zach Brown so tightly after the race. It was clearly sensational drive by Lando Norris. Let's have a look at Valtteri Bottas' race. It was clearly, he showed his pace in qualifying, gained P1 and was leading the race from the get-go, from the start till the end. He was leading the race. He had some problems during the race. He had to manage the gearbox and not hit the curbs. He got a message from James. This time somehow it was not requesting him to allow Lewis Hamilton pass through him, but it was to manage the gearbox, which they were really struggling for. So he did have a clean race, but he somehow managed to keep everyone behind him, particularly Lewis Hamilton. Even after the safety car restart, he managed to somehow keep Lewis Hamilton behind him, and definitely a well-deserved win for Valtteri Bottas. We definitely think that this is Valtteri Bottas 3.0. He is faster, he is meaner, and he is more fitter than he's ever been. So we definitely think that he is the only one who can definitely challenge Lewis Hamilton for the championship, and we would love to see that, definitely yes. Let's have a look at Max Verstappen's race. He clearly had a good start. He had some reliability issues towards the middle of the race and he tried to get in the pit to get it repaired. The team tried to get everything right, but somehow he had to retire his race for reliability issues. We saw Daniel Ricciardo DNF after that. We saw Lance Stroll DNF after that. We saw Romain Grosjean. We saw Kevin Magnussen. We saw Daniel Kvyat. We saw Kimi Räikkönen. And the list was not stopping. George Russell as well had a DNF. So 9 DNFs in total and 4 safety car restarts in. It definitely was one of the most dramatic and chaotic race that Formula 1 has ever seen. A perfect advertisement for Formula 1, and we definitely love the race and are really looking forward for the next race that is gonna be happening really soon. That's it from us, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am Naren Harwani, your host with Racing Squad. You guys have a fantastic day. The highlight of the race for Charles Leclerc was his overtake move on Charles Leclerc. He